In summation, I paint. I question, what hierarchies do I perpetuate, and which do I break down? Painting is a noun. My reference images are paintings. I see paintings. As a noun, it contains descriptive qualities. A painting consists of line, color. It is stretched, framed. It is composed. Note, painting is a history, frames the way we talk about any visual media. When I say painting, it's really not that simple. It is somehow unsatisfactory. Gesture is the essential information. In paintings, the gesture are the marks that deliver the 2D information that translates to the 3D world. The image is the gesture. Gesture and painting are twins for me. They contain the essential information, composition, to translate into relatable terms. Gesture is the translation process. It is vision of the eye and of the hand. It is seeing the image and object I desire to represent, filtering that image and object from the eye through the mind to the hand, and making the marks that represent what I see. Painting and gesture are essential, vision and action. The images I discipline myself after resonate with me. The idea of the artist and agency, initial gestures, the desire to make and capture the image. The notion of the slow act of sitting for a portrait, surrounded and encased by signifiers of self. The old-time selfie, but one that was thoughtful, took time, repeated sittings. The sitter in still life, an artist, would breathe, paint, sit, move, gesture, look, see. These same meditative, bland, quiet scenes, energetic actions, this introversion, performative back-and-forth battle with paint is my muse. The painters, the masters, are my muse. Those canonized in books and Google search that I am competing with and even trying to channel as I work. I'm apprenticing myself under them, perhaps not in aesthetics, but in personal practice. This quiet time in my studio studying after them is important. This interlude in my life, my practice, forms my content. The finished painting itself is incomplete, lacking a residue of my undoing renditions. Interlude. It is musical, theatrical, anticlimactic. It is often passed over and is maybe even disappearing. Interlude. Noun. Interval, intermission, break, recess, pause, respite, rest, breathing space, halt, gap, stop, stoppage, hiatus, lull, breather, timeout. Scene. A young man shows up to his niece's 3rd birthday party. He is drunk. Gathered guests. You made it. Young man. Hap, birth, throws up into a gift bag. Niece cries loudly. A balloon pops. End scene. I play both actor and director in my urgent paintings. In borrowing listless, opulent scenes from historical paintings and current cinema, delving into interior space, I reawaken master's paintings by flinging decadent gestures forth from my cardboard box palette. In restaging players from painting history, like the hierarchical bust, the oval frame, all things equine, canine, etc., I'm reintroducing a distant dialogue, that of moments of interlude, hollowing experiences. I don't know that I will ever truly escape the portrait. Even as a young child, I dabbled at many things. Through the years, I tried my hand at tennis, singing, baking, piano, cheerleading, ceramics, and more. While I excelled at some, fizzled at others, I didn't have much passion for any of my numerous hobbies, even though I played piano from age 5 through high school, and still do. My mom had to bribe me with little toys or an allowance for a period of years in order for me to practice for at least an hour a day. It wasn't until just before college that I realized the common denominator in everything I enjoyed: connections with others. People are my passion. I told this to my mother, who lovingly calls me her jack of all trades, master of none. And she told me yes, but that drawing had been a constant as well. She reminisced over how she would find little pictures of faces, people, and animals crumpled up around the house, even stuffed in the couch at times. Charlotte. I tried taking pictures, but they were so mediocre. I guess every girl goes through a photography phase. You know, horses, taking pictures of your feet. Bob. What do you do? Charlotte. I'm not sure yet, actually. Portrait painters such as John Singer Sargent and John Honoré Fragonard deeply influenced my mark-making and sensibilities. I often look to the past, fraudulently stealing dogs, children, sitters, rugs, and chairs, and patterns, reclaiming and recreating. The traditional portrait itself allows exploration into time passing, stillness, and the merging of internal and external. In extended quietness, in the observation of extended quietness, isolation emerges. Perhaps it is the contrast to the high pace of the American lifestyle, or perhaps it is a deeper longing for connection, or maybe a melding of the two. Whatever the case, when we are highly focused, attuned to our senses, we are once again able to feel the subtle gnawing of incompleteness. The past functions as a metaphor, nostalgia being tinged with both longing and loss. Gesture is the truth of the matter. Gesture, noun. A movement of part of the body, especially a hand or the head, to express an idea or meaning. Alex made a gesture of apology. So much is conveyed by gesture. An action performed to convey one's feelings or intentions. Maggie was touched by the kind gesture. An action performed for show in the knowledge that it will have no effect. I hope the amendment will not just be a gesture. Painting is vision. It is observation. Small studies serve as exercises in composition and color mixing, but my large projector screen-sized tapestry paintings are physical, experiential, body plus sight equals mark endeavors. It is this basic premise that keeps me in tune to the siren call of paint as medium, the act of painting itself. Sure, I explore motion paintings and sound pieces through video, but the notion of sight, the solace of the painter and the sitter, the solace of the painter in their studio still commands my direction. These moments of interlude, of performing, albeit for no one, occasionally for my dogs. These empty gestures, in my studio practice, are the heart of my research. I am interested in the ever-disappearing moment of interlude, of quiet. Perhaps I'm reactionary to Facebook culture, where every action or thought is status or selfie-worthy. I see the almost fear that surrounds what the world is coming to, and my favorite current philosopher, comedian Louis C.K. He tells a story about resisting the urge to call someone or reach out one time when he was brought to tears by a song, and pulling over on the side of the road to weep. He said that he is afraid his children will never reach this deep sadness. Audience laughs. Then he says that if they never reach that deep sadness, they will never know true happiness. Maybe it's the allowance for solace, for connection to self, for connection to vibrations, a higher power, the whatever you want to call it, that allows for real connections to others. Insert paragraph on cinematic thinking in my work. My script writing, titles, etc. Here's where I introduce formality and informality of conversation and my unstretched, informal canvas and paper substrates. As I use elements of painting history flavored with the Rococo, I recall some of my main influences: Sofia Coppola's scenes, whether of overindulgence, Marie Antoinette, escapism, Lost in Translation, or anxiety, The Virgin Suicides. Revel in the slow, creeping melancholy of a life without aim. In The Great Gatsby, it is as though the characters are drugged by their surroundings and wealth, sedated by their boredom, trapped by powerlessness and privilege in the midst of good circumstance. Through historical motifs and allegory, I see parallels to today. While constantly immersed in the pseudo-connections of Facebook and its comrades, it is ever increasingly easier to ignore, well, our being, I suppose. Gatsby believed in the green light, the orgastic future that year by year recedes before us. It eluded us then, but that's no matter. Tomorrow we will run faster, stretch out our arms farther, and one fine morning, so we beat on, boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. Familiar scenes of portraiture, people idling away the hours, with dogs moving in real time, require an attention span. It is partially my intent to challenge the viewer to watch my motion paintings all the way through, the mere 5 to 7 minutes feeling like a small eternity. The angle rarely moves, nor does the subject, unless it's canine counterpart. And there's no dialogue, lulling the audience to boredom. Whether this boredom is a welcome luxury or a dreaded calm, I find it fascinating that an intentional tedium functions as a delicate assault. What is the purpose of art? To destroy the cliché, to serve, to educate, to amuse, to prompt questions, to excel, to decorate, to impress, to disgust, to overturn, to rebuild, consternation, silence. I work in children's homes. I used to aspire to be a missionary. I think about circumstance. Once I met a woman with my same name. She was my age. She grew up in a dump, literally, and was often abused. She lost her eyesight by drinking a toxic substance to kill herself. I'm so comfortable. I'm still vulnerable. I might go blind, but I'm so comfortable. I think about circumstance. Sometimes I think about purpose. Maybe I think about experience. Time is fleeting. Bodies are fleeting. Comfort is fleeting. People are fleeting. History is fleeting. I was born into a certain hierarchy. I perseverate certain hierarchies. I overturn, redesign, and reclaim certain hierarchies. Insert paragraph on hierarchy of experiences. Here's where I really delve into portrait, face, oval, circle, cliché. With compositional autonomy, there's the presence of the body. Through the hierarchical oval, the centered form and portrait supplements, the absence of the physical body is no matter. Along with my sound pieces, these motifs are established, being an idea of hollow spaces, if not currently occupied, remnants of once opulent inhabitants, the in-between things. Maybe in this way the parlor couches and the dogs serve their purpose. At times they function as the muse, the nude frivolity next to the sober decorum of the portrait sitter. Other times they function as the unobserved self, unabsorbed yet completely absorbed by self, licking their own ass as though they weren't part of a sober moment. Maybe the masters are my muse, allowing me to compete with myself, with them, though they're old and dead, haunting me. Perhaps I'm a nihilist, striving forth when I know what I seek is unattainable. In this, I know my pursuit of painting will never tire nor satisfy. Haunting, not in a ghostly way, though perhaps, but persistent, as though the possibility of losing my sight makes me a beauty seeker. Lydia Harris, over the phone. Is this a bad time? Bob pauses. No, it's always a good time. Lydia Harris. The burgundy carpet is out of stock. It's going to take 12 weeks. Did you like any of the other colors? Bob. Whatever you like. I'm just completely lost. Lydia Harris. It's just carpet. Bob. That's not what I'm talking about. Lydia Harris. What are you talking about?